Welcome to The Explainer. We are jumping right into something that's honestly, truly mind-blowing today. We're looking at the staggering efficacy of next-generation weight loss therapeutics and the rapidly shifting regulatory landscape surrounding the entire peptide industry. You know, the numbers coming out of these latest clinical trials aren't just your standard incremental improvements. They are fundamentally rewriting what we thought was pharmacologically possible.
I mean, just look at this number, 71.2 pounds. That was the average weight loss achieved in Eli Lilly's latest phase 3 trial. Let that sink in for a second. We're not talking about a rigorous, multi-year surgical intervention here. We're talking about a weekly injectable peptide. Specifically, in their TRIUMPH-1 trial, which looked at non-diabetic patients, they saw an average drop of 70.3 pounds at the 80-week mark on the 12 milligram dose. And get this, a staggering 65.3% of those participants dropped to a BMI below 30. This is exactly the kind of massive, unprecedented metabolic breakthrough that's sending absolute shockwaves through both the medical community and Wall Street.
Section 1. The 71-pound breakthrough. Eli Lilly's TRIUMPH-4 trial data. Okay, let's dive right into this.
So the data we're looking at here comes from the TRIUMPH-4 trial. This one specifically focused on adults living with obesity who also suffer from knee osteoarthritis. Now, on the highest dose, that's the 12 milligrams of Retatrutide, participants saw nearly a 30% drop in their body weight over 68 weeks, 28.7% to be exact. But look over at that third column for pain reduction. Because these folks lost so much weight so rapidly, their knee pain plummeted by over 74%. They essentially eliminated a debilitating joint condition just by altering their metabolic hormones. It's wild.
Section 2. Clash of the Titans. Tirzepatide versus semaglutide. Now, to truly understand how crazy a 28.7% weight loss figure really is, we have to look at the current heavyweights in the SURMOUNT-5 trial, which pitted tirzepatide head-to-head against semaglutide. Tirzepatide is the active ingredient in Zepbound and Mounjaro, right? And semaglutide is what's in Wegovy and Ozempic. So in this trial, tirzepatide clearly won out, delivering a 20.2% weight loss compared to semaglutide's 13.7%. And at the time, that was considered a massive, massive win for Big Pharma. But then, Retatrutide's new 28.7% figure comes along and completely dwarfs them both. It's literally in a different stratosphere.
Section 3. The triple agonist advantage. Understanding the mechanism. So how exactly is Retatrutide pulling off these unprecedented numbers?
Well, it's all about the locks and keys. Tirzepatide is a dual agonist. It targets both the GLP-1 and GIP receptors. But Retatrutide, it's a triple agonist. It adds glucagon receptors into the mix. And this is absolutely crucial because that glucagon receptor agonism directly improves hepatic glucose output. It's a mechanism completely distinct from tirzepatide, and it's exactly why experts are practically on the edge of their seats for the upcoming TRIUMPH-2 phase 3 trial. Expected to report results in mid-2026, TRIUMPH-2 is specifically evaluating Retatrutide in adults with obesity and type 2 diabetes. Just for some context here, tirzepatide achieved about 22 to 26% weight loss in diabetic populations in the SURMOUNT trials. So if Retatrutide's triple threat mechanism holds up, it could be an absolute game changer for the 500 million people globally living with type 2 diabetes. We're talking about a potential FDA submission by late 2026 or early 2027, with 7 additional phase 3 trials reporting throughout 2026.
And you know, this brilliantly illustrates that it's not just about fitting into an old pair of jeans. Dr. Craig Conover, a physician who works extensively with these peptides, points out that patients are experiencing powerful systemic benefits. We're talking about improved cognitive function, the clearing of brain fog, and significant drops in inflammation markers, even in patients with autoimmune conditions like Hashimoto's. The sheer drop in visceral fat is literally changing how the entire immune system functions.
Section 4. A new safety signal. Efficacy versus side effects. But we have to be real here. You can't have this level of extreme pharmacological intervention without some friction. So at what cost to the body do these powerful triple agonists operate? Well, considering there was an 18.2% trial dropout rate for the highest dose, there is a very real risk of severe muscle loss, often called sarcopenia, if the medication isn't strictly paired with adequate protein intake and heavy resistance training. But beyond the muscle loss, the clinical trials revealed a few other challenging hurdles. Here's a quick look at the expected gastrointestinal side effects on that 12 milligram dose. Now, these are pretty typical of incretin therapies. We see high rates of nausea at over 43%, diarrhea at 33%, and vomiting at nearly 21%. Actually, some of the trial discontinuations were simply due to what Lilly termed perceived excessive weight loss. which basically means the drug was actually working too fast for some patients to comfortably handle.
But then, there was this surprising new safety signal that emerged in the TRIUMPH-4 trial, and it caught Wall Street analysts completely off guard. It's called dysesthesia. This popped up in nearly 21% of the high-dose patients, compared to just 0.7% on the placebo. So what is it? It's an abnormal sense of touch, where totally normal sensations suddenly feel really unusual or even painful. And while Lilly noted these events were generally mild and rarely led to patients actually quitting the trial, it's a neurological side effect that wasn't really seen in the earlier mid-stage trials. So you can bet regulators are going to be watching it like a hawk.
Section 5. The Peptide Wild West, regulating the gray market.
Now, while Big Pharma is out there running these highly regulated phase 3 trials, there's this entirely volatile, off-label side to the peptide market. And the crucial point is, according to an FDA analysis, a staggering 40% of research peptide products sold online contain inaccurate dosing, degraded active compounds, or just outright contamination. Because these specific peptides aren't always easily accessible through standard medical channels, athletes and longevity enthusiasts have turned to these gray market websites, exposing themselves to massive quality control risks.
Which brings us to a massive regulatory shift. The FDA recently announced a major reclassification plan for 2026. See, over the last few years, the FDA aggressively moved many popular bodybuilding and healing peptides into Category 2, essentially banning them from legal compounding pharmacies due to safety concerns. But in a huge reversal, they're now shifting 14 of those restricted peptides back toward Category 1. That means they could once again be legally prescribed by doctors and made in sterile, safe compounding pharmacies.
So you might want to mark your calendars for this timeline. Following an April 2026 announcement, there are going to be critical public hearings held by the Pharmacy Compounding Advisory Committee. July 23rd and 24th? Those are the big dates. That's when the legal compounding fate of incredibly popular healing tools like BPC 157 and TB 500 will be debated and ultimately decided. For anyone out there relying on these for tissue repair, joint healing, or cognitive enhancement, these hearings are going to dictate your future access.
Which leaves us to ponder this final question. Will strict FDA regulations ultimately stifle peptide innovation? Or is this structured review process the only way to finally secure patient safety in a post-Ozempic era? We are standing at the absolute frontier of metabolic science right now, balancing unprecedented 71-pound breakthroughs against the raw reality of side effects and regulatory boundaries. It's a fascinating time for medicine, and the next few years are for sure going to reshape how we understand human optimization entirely. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this helped clear up the science and the stakes of the peptide revolution.